Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Minister J, and this is your prophetic word for 2021. We did recognize that 2020 was a very vision-packed year. It was a correction of the vision, of your vision. That means that anything that was out of alignment, God has given space, time, and provision to correct. Sorry, you guys, I got the grandbaby this morning, but grandbaby woke up and was not going to let me do this video without me holding her. So as you see, she's asleep. I will not be before you long, but I do want to give you a word from God. It is imperative that in 2021, you govern your relationships and you govern your mind. God had spoke to me about maybe 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he was talking to me about parenting. And he was talking about that we are raising children, but we're not listening or hearing children. And I couldn't really understand what it was that God was trying to convey to me. And I struggled with that word for a while. And yesterday I gave a word. I went Facebook Live and I gave this word. Thought it was a pretty good word, and I thought that I had what God was telling me in mind, but I didn't. He corrected me throughout the night, and I wanted to give the correction to that word this morning. I didn't even want to give myself time enough to think and process it clearly enough as to where I could not correct it. So here goes. God is saying that now he is acting truly like the Father. Some of us have not had fathers in our household, so we really don't know how a father would move. But we do have, the majority of us has had the ability or the pleasure of having parents in our home or guardians in our home or people that look after us. In those situations when we are out of line or not in not where we should be or doing what we were told or paying attention to what our parents or guardians were telling us to do, a lot of times that we would be punished. God is doing that in this day and in this hour. In 2021, we have been told to stay in your room. We've been told to not have company. We've had things taken from us. We've had people removed from us, and none of this has been in our control. God has said that he is coming back for the relationship. And what I mean by the relationship is the relationship that we often give to others and the things that we possess, yet we don't give to him. We've misplaced, we've disvalued, and we've discounted the things that God gives us naturally before we place them in the natural. So what I mean is that he has given us the ability to love, and it was one of his commandments. John 13, if I'm not mistaken, he commanded us to love one another as we love one another as we love ourselves. He's told us in several ways when you question what must we do to be saved, it is the responsibility of us to look after one another, to be respectful of one another. We are not to kill. We are not to commit adultery. We are not to do a lot of things. I went over yesterday Acts 16 and Matthew 19. In Acts 16, a man says, "What must I do to be saved?" And it is explained to him to believe on God. I then went to Matthew 19, and I'm not very sure of the verse exactly, but it also talks about what must a man give up. But in that text, in Matthew 19, when the man is told what he has to give up, God says to the disciples that whatever you give up, I'll give back to you 100-fold and give you eternal life. So that leads me to believe that he'll restore whatever it is that he has taken from you. He'll restore it to you 100-fold, depending on the spirit of the person relinquishing. So that takes me now to Job, the book of Job. God woke me up and he told me Job was a father, Job was a husband, Job was a friend, Job was an owner, and Job was healthy. Job was also in right relationship with God. Yet all of these things that he was, God allowed the enemy to touch. So Job was a father. The enemy was allowed to touch his children. Job was a husband. His wife was speaking discord about God and telling him to curse God and just go ahead and die. Job was a friend. He was a friend that when he got in trouble, he called and he talked to a couple of friends and they came to sit with him. But yet and still they told him that all of the things that he had done wrong. They had a wrong concept of God. And they didn't understand that a good man could fall. A good man could be touched. A good man could be hurt. All the time, you cannot see what a man of God or a woman of God looks like off the surface. Because a person is in trouble does not mean that they are not in the sight of God. Because a person does not have and does not own or has had their health challenged does not mean that they are not of God. The book of Job teaches you that you can be in right relationship and still have issue. So this year, people, this year, 2021 is going to be a year that you are going to have to get your mind right with God. This is going to be a year that you are going to have to solidify and get a true relationship based on the fundamentals of what a relationship is. The book of Job tells you that it was not so much about who trusted in God, but it was also who God trusted in. So God had a level of trust that Job could handle anything that was thrown his way and still serve and worship God in the same breath. This is why Job was tried. He was tested. I want you to understand the fundamental of breaking generational curses and getting your mind to a place where anything that comes up against you, you have to understand first and foremost it has been allowed by God. Secondly, the more you sit and the more you worship God in the midst of your mess, the quicker you can get through the situation and get back to your 42 chapter of Job, where everything is being restored. I wanted to talk to you about binding fear in the year of 2021. It has got to be put up under control. Fear is the false evidence appearing real. False experiences appearing real. I wrote down these things so that I could be clear about what I was talking about. Our relationships, as we see in the book of Job, can cultivate a playing field for the enemy. It's where a lot of our fear comes from. Parental issues can cultivate a need of love and oftentimes a possessive or insecure perspective or attitude towards people. When you have bad friendships that go south, they can cultivate a distrust or a lack of effort towards next friendships or even a standard of obligation to those relationships. Past dating experiences prepare a mindset or expectation of disappointment, letdowns, or even I'll get you before you get me mindset, which puts us in direct conflict to what God wants us to do. You have got to experience in order to know sometimes. So take your experiences as God has allowed them to be, something that was allowed, and let it go. I think my granddaughter agrees. It's very important that we develop strong relationships in this year, and that means friendships, business partnerships, and love relationships. Because this is where a lot of our turmoil has began. And this is the year for us to get them under control and progress with one another. We need one another in the earth in order to make it. And this is the way God designed it. And this is the way it should be. When we talk about parenting, it is important now that we talk to our children, whether they are small kids, 20s, 30s, we need to talk to them. We need to talk to them about their mindsets. We need to know what's going on in their minds. We've depreciated relationships to the point that love now is just a word, and it has no power, and it has no push behind it. Love is not something that you say. Love is something that you display. Love is not something that you say. Love is something that you do. Love is what a person may need love to be to them, and not always just what you believe it to be. So a lot of times we have to engage people. We have to talk to them. We have to find out where their mind is at. We have to know what it is that they're looking for, what it is that they're lacking for the most part. It's important that we become lovers of one another. I don't mean sexually. The sexual aspect of loving one another is what has gotten us into trouble today. We are now laying on top of one another, exchanging fluids and exchanging actions and movements, yet we do not have any emotion for the flesh or the being that it is attached to, which is a danger. We've minimized and we have made little of the things that God has called covenant. And so because our relationships are out of order, God is now pushing us to be in order. He has now put us in the homes with people that we are the closest to. Now we appreciate and value a cousin or a friend or a partner, because sometimes we've been down and someone has had to be up for us. 2021 is going to be a year that you are going to have to watch your mind and your relationships. It's important. This can be one of the best years to come. And if not one of the best years to come, it definitely can beat 2020 hands down, but it is going to be about what you make it. I prophesy prophetically that there is going to be Black Wall Street. What I mean by that, there is going to be black wealth. I also believe that our wealth will come from our relationships with others outside of our culture, but being well tuned into what we should do with our money moving forward. This will be a year of accountability, and God is moving expeditiously, which means that if you err on a Monday, you might get checked on that Monday. 2021 is going to be a year of what did you learn? What did your mind take in and how did it process it? When people do things to you, understand it was allowed. Forgive, shake the dust off, and move on. I wanted to simply say to you, 2021 will be everything that you put effort towards. It really will be. Whatever direction you put your efforts in, it will manifest within the same year. This is going to be a very quick year, but it's going to be a year truly of relationships. I'm telling you guys this. Watch who is coming. Watch yourself, because there are people that are going to make you, and there are going to be people that are coming to break you. The book of Job simply says that on either side of any situation that you engage in, you have the Father and you have the enemy. Seek what a father's role is. Seek what a parent's role is. It's not always to tell you what you want to hear, but it is to tell you what you need to hear. We've got to start being led by our spirit and not by our emotions. The book of Job says that your family can be touched. Your spouse may be a little off. Your crops may dry up. Your health may be touched, but your life cannot be taken lest you let it down. Okay? There are too many things that we don't want to let go of. And rightfully so in the natural. Rightfully so in the natural. I understand. I understand not wanting to lose a child. I understand not wanting to lose a parent. I understand not wanting to lose a brother and sister. I get it. Because to be honest with you, when you're in good relationship and right relationship with people, you will miss them. But to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord, and that's a definite. Try to get yourself right in right relationship here. It is not about the performance. It is not about all the things that you don't do. It is not about all the things that you outwardly can show people, because God reads a man's heart. It's the second day of 2021. And it's time for us to get serious. It's time for us to treat people as we want to be treated. It's time for us to engage our children and really, really, really listen to what's going on in their world, what's going on in their mind, and try to protect them as best we can with words of advice, words spoken gently enough that they can receive. We've got to change our relationships and how we interact with people, because we're going to need one another for our progress, for our well-being, for our prosperity, for our love. We're going to need people. God is in the roundup season. We're rounding up. This is winding up, people. We're coming to a close. The curtain is getting ready to drop. So I need you guys to let go of all these past hurts and look forward to the time that you have in front of you. And as we saw in 2020, time is very precious. You do not know what tomorrow may bring. We had too many people leave here going to sleep with a headache and not waking up the next day. We had too many people getting up and going to the store and never returning home. We had too many young girls walk away from their home, headed in one direction, never to return. We had too many young men going to the gas station or sitting in driveways that didn't make it back to their front doors. We are the people. When we say that people have changed, we have to first remember we are the people. And women and men of God, children of God, I need you to hear me and hear me clearly. You have to believe in and on God. You have to believe that nothing is by surprise to him. He has it under control. So you have to stay under control. Believing in God has a persona. Believing in God, having a faith in God has a persona. It is calm. It is thinking. It is trying to grasp God's purpose and his will and his plan, and not our own. We didn't have a choice when we came. We will not have a choice when we leave. But we do have a choice in what we do in the day that we are given, guys. Stop making excuses about these people. These people, we are the people. Talk to your children. Find out what it is. And I don't care if they're 35, 40, 50. Some people have no one to talk to and they're losing their minds. Be responsible for one another. That's all God is asking us. John 13, I preached that as my licensing sermon. And it's interesting to me that Jesus, in his last hour, last moments, all he wanted people to do was be humble to one another. All he wanted people to know is to get out of all of this title thing. Yes, he was Jesus, but he washed the feet of the disciples. Yes, he was Jesus, but he knew that the people that he sat with would turn on him. Yes, he was Jesus, but he said, love them as I love the church. Love them as you love yourselves. That's what he's trying to get us back to, people. And until you control your mind, and until you control your relationships, can you develop this true relationship with God? He's not always going to do what you want him to do. It's not always going to feel the way you want it to feel. But God. But God. When the relationship fails, let it go. Trust that God has better. Keep telling God that he has better. Tell God what you believe about him and watch him perform. Tell God what you believe about him and watch him perform. When you believe that you are healed, speak it and believe it. When you believe that your friend, your relative, your coworker is healed, speak and believe it. Tell the people that you're praying for that you have the ear of God and believe it. This is the year of the mind and the relationship. Be blessed, my people. I hope that this word sows a seed upon your heart and your mind, and I hope and pray that you take me seriously at my word. God spoke to me clearly about Job and about what he's doing in this season as a parent. He's our Father. He'll protect you. He'll provide. And he'll perform on your behalf. Believe on him. Be blessed, my people. Happy 2021. May God keep you. May his hand rest upon you. And may you stay in the hollow of his hand. Oh, God, bless you.